Hello lovelies, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time watching, you're very welcome. My name is Gladys. I request you all to kindly subscribe, share your thoughts in the comment section down below. I'll be reading all of them. And if you like this full glam, give it a very big thumbs up. With no further ado, let's get started. It is quite difficult, especially for beginners, to draw similar brows. This is a technique that I adopted recently to help you with that. Mark 3 dots in those 3 places as I demonstrated, then use a brown brow pencil to connect the dots. Always begin with the lower part of your brows. When it comes to the upper part of your brows, don't use the same point at which the lower line is curved as your guide. Rather, put a mark slightly ahead of that point, and that is where your upper line will start to curve outwards until it meets the lower line. After that, extend the upper line inwards, but not all the way up to the point where the lower line starts. Leave some space. The soap technique is one that will help you when it comes to filling in your brows. Sprinkle some water on a piece of soap, then rub it until it creates foam. The foam created is what you'll apply in your brows to make them sleek and visible. At this point, when it comes to combing your brows, comb them upwards when it comes to the inner part, and then curve them when it comes to the outer part. You curve them towards the outer part. Then press your brows in and wait for the foam to dry before you begin filling in. When filling in, draw hair-like structures, concentrating only on those areas that do not have hair. When it comes to cleaning your brows, use a flat brush and apply the product on the sides of the brush, not at the tip, or else you will create a mess. To clean your brows, use a concealer that is 2 shades lighter than your skin tone for the lower part of your brows, and don't start all the way inwards. I'll tell you why later on. For this, I'm using LA Girl Pro Concealer in the shade Fawn. For the inner part of my brows, I'll go in with LA Girl Pro Concealer in Espresso. Reason being, it is my real shade, therefore it will blend in with the foundation easily later on. After that, blend in the edges using a finger or a fluffy brush. When it comes to cleaning the upper part of your brows, use the same concealer you use to clean the inner part of the lower part of your brows. That is the concealer that is your real shade. Alternatively, you can use a foundation. And that's it for our brows. Let's move on to eyeshadow. Start with the application of eyeshadow base, and for this I'm using a very light concealer. Eyeshadow base enhances the pigment of the eyeshadow and helps the eyeshadow to stay in place. I am going to show you a technique that will make your eyeshadow appear more pigmented. Start with applying lipstick as your transition shade. The lipstick you apply should be the same color of the transition shade that you want to use. That is the first shade that you want to use for your eyeshadow. Since I will use maroon as my transition shade, I'm going in with a maroon lipstick. Then go in with the eyeshadow shade immediately before the lipstick dries out. I am using that shade from the Gorgeous Me eyeshadow palette to blend in the edges of my transition. Blend in circular motions going inwards. Before you apply anything on your eyelids, make sure there are no creases by dusting off any residue. For my lids, I'm using that pink shade still from the Gorgeous Me eyeshadow palette, and for application use a fluffy brush and tap the shade in. After that, I applied glitter glue because I wanted to apply glitters. To apply the glitters, always use a fluffy brush so that the glitters can spread across the eyelid. I wanted to use pink glitters, but I didn't have them, so I opted for silver glitters. Silver glitters didn't give me a look that I had pictured in my mind, so I decided to tone the silver glitters down using a pink shimmery shade from the Huda eyeshadow palette. For my wing eye, I'm using the Karite 24-hour black gel. And I will start by drawing a very slender line as close to my eyelashes as possible. Today's wing eye is quite different. Well, I'll draw a straight line from my lower lashes towards the outer part of my brows as usual, but instead of connecting it to the slender line that I drew earlier, I will instead blend it into our transition shade just like that.
You say it's hard to tell just what I'm thinking. You think it's hard.
I blended the black gel in using our transition shade.
I'll say whatever you want. Let you walk in on my heart.
I applied mascara and then wore false lashes. And our eye makeup is complete. I really loved the outcome. I loved this look. We shall come back to the lower part of our eyes when we are done with the face makeup. When it comes to the face, always start with face prep. So I started with applying primer, and for application, tap it in and wait for it to dry up before you proceed with your foundation. For foundation, I'm using the Zikel Foundation in the numbers 15 and 30. I'm mixing the two to get my real shade. And this foundation is really good for oily skin. So if you have oily skin, try it out. You will not regret it. For application, tap it in and use a damp beauty blender. First soak it in water, then squeeze out the excess water. Avoid applying fresh foundation on your nose and under your eyes. The foundation that is left after applying all over your face is what you will use for your nose and under your eyes. To highlight, use a concealer that is 2 shades lighter than your skin tone. I am using LA Girl Pro Concealer in the shade Fawn, the same concealer I used to clean the lower part of my brows. And don't be in a rush to spread the concealer under your eyes. First tap it in. You have to know that concealers dry out really fast, so blend immediately after application before you move on to the next step. After blending in under your eyes, move on to your forehead, bridge of the nose, upper part of your lips, and then chin. To set your concealer, use a setting powder that is 2 shades lighter than your skin tone. That is the powder that matches the concealer that you use to highlight. For this, I'm using the Sacha buttercup setting powder. The technique here is to blow off the excess product before you apply it on your face.
You say it's hard to tell just what I'm thinking. You think it's hard to see behind my smile. I'll say whatever you want. Let you walk in on my heart if you want to. You can ask me.
To contour my face, I'm going in with a Zikel contour palette, but you can as well use a powder that is darker than your skin tone. Contour your cheekbone area in circular motions going upwards. After that, move on to your forehead. Contour more if you have a big forehead and less if you have a small forehead. Contour going towards your hairline. And don't forget your jawbone area. For my reverse contour, I'm using that light shade from the Zikel contour palette. Alternatively, you can use a very light powder for this. When it comes to nose contour, don't use a very dark powder or else you'll create harsh lines that will be difficult to blend, which is why I'm mixing a dark shade and a light shade. Also, don't be in a rush to drag the contour downwards. Rather, use tapping motions moving downwards. Let us go back to the lower part of our eyes. I applied a black eyeliner on my waterline. And just below that, I applied the maroon shade I used as my transition shade. And I'll not take it all the way towards the inner corner of the eye. After that, I applied finishing powder all over my face and dusted off the powder I used for reverse contour. Then went in with blush on the upper of my cheeks, tip of my nose, and a little bit on my forehead. I applied a little bit of highlight on the tip of my nose and bridge of my nose. Moving on to the lips, I started with lining my lips with a Davis number 18 black lip liner. Blend before you move on to the next shade. For my second shade, I used the same maroon lipstick I used for my eyes. I then went in with a light pink shade from Kiss Beauty, concentrating it on the inner part of my lips. After that, I toned the edges of the pink lipstick down using the same maroon shade. I want a very smooth transition for my lips from one shade to another. Lastly, I applied a makeup fix spray and I was very generous with it. And that is a complete full glam makeup look, bold eyeshadow and bold lips. Tell me what you think about this look in the comment section down below. I really loved creating this look and I loved the outcome. So beautiful, look at that masterpiece. I took some pictures under the natural light and of course I have to show off. That's it for our full glam tutorial. See you in my next video. Bye guys.